And that's how I felt. Every time I've been brought to a point where I felt like committing suicide or something, it's only because I felt worthless and I felt like I had nothing to offer on this planet anymore.
Alright, good afternoon, Shocka.
Good afternoon, my brother.
Long overdue.
I know, bro. I know.
Yeah, we should might as well say that like double like booking interviews for ADTV now, bro, man. Because he was saying that, bro, this needs to happen, man. I was all sending double messages like, oh, like, bro, can we make this happen?
Yeah, bro.
And he
I'm
goes,
I'm the Amarudontv of music, bro. So it's like like what you do, I do it in music. So this has to happen.
bro,
Definitely.
the project is completely introspective.
Thank you, bro. Yeah,
Completely.
100%.
When I was listening to it, there were so many things within it
Yeah,
that I didn't even know. I didn't get to go to the launch.
yeah.
First off, how was the launch for you?
The launch was like, I keep telling everyone it's like top 5, not even top 5, top 3 best moments of my life. And I've had some lit moments. I've had some good times, but that was like reason why it was top 3 best moments of my life is just because of everything that happened prior, all the trials and tribulations I went through prior to that, and then I felt like that was just like round off the whole moment. That was like the celebration, and I felt like it was a celebration for everyone that was in there as well, because I know there was so much people in there, because I know what my audience is like. So I know there was so much people in there that's been through like similar things that I've been through. So it was just a celebration. It was sick. All the support acts turned up. It was sick, man. It was just a sick night. I keep looking at the footage on my phone. I was telling Double the other day, I said it's going to be hard for me to fall into depression because I got this footage on my phone. So I just keep going back to it and just reliving the moment. But yeah, it was sick.
I mean, that kind of ties into like be yourself when you say, I do this for the kids who suffer from mental health.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you also say that line about I do this for the girl who's at her rape trial. Like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
these are things that musically people's minds aren't even looking
Yeah.
to touch and reach. So let's get into the part about mental health.
Yeah.
I know you did was it a documentary piece or was it on the TV?
Yeah, I did something on
Was it
BBC.
ITV or was
Yeah, it was BBC
BBC?
2, I think.
BBC 2.
BBC 1, yeah.
So first off, so what is actually mental health?
Um, that's a very good question. I feel like there's different types of mental health. I feel like there's serious cases where there's people that there's really stuff going on in their mind, like they're really going through things. Because if anyone can know the difference, it's me. I've been in a mental health hospital 3 times, different hospitals. I've been to Chase Farm, I've been to St. Anne's, and I can't remember the last one. But yeah, different times, and I've seen different patients, and I've realised there's patients that's actually like, they've really got something wrong, probably from birth as well. Then there's people where they're suffering from like depression and anxiety and suicidal thoughts. Those people, I'm gonna say the truth, what I think it is, the truth, because I've studied this and I've really gone through it myself. I think the people that's going through like depression and like anxiety and stuff, what they're suffering from is a low self-image. And when I say a low self-image, I don't say that to make people feel uncomfortable. Like, what do you mean I'm suffering from a low self-image? I mean, like, having a low self-image can happen to anybody. You can be successful and have a low self-image. It happens from like stuff like, I'll give you numerous examples. You can be in a relationship for like 5 years, yeah? And then your girl cheats on you out of the blue, yeah? And you have no answers to come up with why it happened. That will help you form a low self-image. Or you can have like a family member that died out of the blue, it hit you with a low self-image. For me, how my image became low is from music. Music's my life. Like, music's where I found my identity, I found myself. So when music started to go pear-shaped in, I think it was like, when did Marvel really start? It was like after our Risky Rose deal in like 2011. That was the first time where I felt like I had no sense of purpose. So that's when my self-image became low, like at its lowest point. I feel like that's another reason why people fall into depression and anxiety, is because there's no sense of purpose. Like, having a sense of purpose is so important. And that was like the first time for me where I felt like people message me. I get messages all the time on Instagram, because obviously my story is documented, it's out there now, I put it in my music, and people message me, and I realized like the common thing that comes up is them feeling worthless. And that's how I felt. Every time I've been brought to a point where I felt like committing suicide or something, it's only because I felt worthless and I felt like I had nothing to offer on this planet anymore. But what I'm now starting to realize, that's why I made Kenneth is a king. That's to change the self-image.
It's affirmation, isn't it?
It's self-affirmation now. And I felt like anyone can put their name into that sentence. Kenneth is a king. Amarudontv is a king. Double S is a king. Anyone can put their name in that sentence. And that's what I want my listeners to do. I want them to put myself, they feel like they're in my shoes and we're all climbing through it together. So, yeah, I feel like not having a sense of purpose is one of the main causes for it. And to get yourself out of that situation, because that's the question that everyone wants to know. That's what everyone wants to ask me. How did you get yourself out of that situation? I think it's just knowing who you really are and what your true identity is on this planet. And when I say what you really are, I mean, like, if you look at everyone and to go back to the low self-image thing, because I really need to drill that topic home, because that's so important for people to know this. I see why the world is pushing people to have a low self-image, because it's big business. If you've got a low self-image, you're going to want to buy clothes to raise your image up. You're going to want to buy jewelry to raise your image up. You're going to want to buy cars to raise your image up. You're going to want to have the most money to raise your self-image. But what they're not teaching us is that those things don't really last. They don't mean anything. Our self-image has to come from within. Everyone that's got a really high self-image, if you really analyze them, their self-image comes from something spiritual, like God. Like, they understand how important they are in the eyes of God. So they know that everything that exists on this planet everything that's in existence is here for a reason. So just that alone, you are worthy, because God wouldn't put nothing in existence for no reason. Everything that's not in existence is in non-existence. So for you to be in existence in the first place, you're worthy, you're here, you're meant to be here. That's enough for your self-image. People don't know that though. The world gives us a self-image, and that's what's fucking us up. That's why I understand why all my favorite rappers like Tupac and Bob, they all said fuck the world. I get it now. It makes sense, because it's the world that's fucking us up and making us feel like our self-image has to come from stuff that we buy and all these things. I'm starting to learn that now. My self-image is completely different. So if music was to go pear-shaped for me now, I would know how to handle it, because I'm not attached to it like that. My self-image came from music at first. Nobody calls me Kenneth. I'm comfortable to put my government name out there because I know who I am as a person. Before, everyone in my area, I rarely heard the name Kenneth. My mum don't even call me Kenneth. My mum calls me Asaf, that's my Nigerian name. But I mean, like, I rarely hear that name. I'm so accustomed to hearing the name Shocka for so long, for doing music for so long. So I felt like I fell into that character. Do you know what I mean? And I couldn't distinguish between the two at a point. So that really, I just went off on it. But yeah, you get what I'm trying to say.
So to tie it in, so was the music industry the trigger, or did you have like mental health challenges before music?
I think the music was a trigger.
Really?
Yeah.
So before then you didn't?
Before then, what's funny about my situation as well is, like, no pun intended, but it actually came as a shock. Because that's what's so funny. Like, if you talk to my mum right now, she'd be like, it came as a surprise. I came home one day and I just had this big breakdown. I was screaming, I was shouting. Before I know it, an ambulance came for me and I was in the hospital. But on hindsight, looking back, because there wasn't no warning signs. Double's been with me for the past 5 years. We've been in a Marvel group. We've lived together. There wasn't no bait. You know, usually people have bait warning signs. There wasn't no bait warning signs for me. But now looking back at it, I can see where my triggers was and what was happening. At the time, music wasn't going well, and that was really fucking with me. And then another thing I was going through, I was waking up spiritually. Like, I was reading and understanding more things. And I felt like how I processed it was wrong. Not processed it was wrong, but I feel like, how can I put it? You know how there's this whole stay woke movement? And like, you can go on Instagram and you can see quotes about things and everyone's giving each other guides and how to like operate now. At the time when I was like reading up on things and learning more about myself.
So
Yeah.
You probably felt isolated.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the word, but I'm saying all this stuff. But I felt isolated and I had no one to talk to at the time. I remember saying the worst thing The Matrix is my favorite film. The first Matrix is my favorite film. I'll tell you why. There's a bit where Morpheus says to Neo, you can't unplug people at a certain age because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
I never understood that, but I get that now. What he's saying is that our minds are basically computers and they've got different programs on it. So you can't take out programs and change belief systems at a certain age because it's dangerous. I remember learning about so much stuff and I went, the worst thing I can do, the worst. I went to my African mum and I started telling her, Mum, do you know we're all connected in this sort of way? My mum was looking at me like, and now looking back, I get it. What was basically happening, my mum was basically saying, I understand what I want to understand what you're telling me, but I've had certain programs and belief systems with me for so long that for me to take that program out and install your one in, something dangerous, my computer's going to crash. And I felt like that's what happened to me. My computer crashed.
Okay.
Yeah, and I felt like that's what happened to me. My computer crashed. So that was heavily part of my breakdown as well. Is that I was learning more about myself at the time, and my health. I was losing my mind at the time, but I was also shedding my mind because I was evolving. If that makes sense.